Bob Show here on the Download. We've got Bob Harris, the voice of the Duke Blue Devils, and Bob Davis, the voice of the Jayhawks, kind enough to join us to talk a little bit about this 4-5 matchup. You guys have been around the programs as much as anybody. With some of the influx of talent, some of the departure of talent, what do you see as a strength right now for the Blue Devils?
I think the youth and exuberance probably will be the strength, plus ability. You know, they're pretty talented when they come in nowadays. You don't have to give the freshmen the seasoning of a year or two, or sometimes even 3 before they're ready to play as seniors. These kids are ready to play now, and Mike brought in 3 freshmen, plus we have a transfer from Mississippi State and Rodney Hood, and had to sit out last year. So there were 4 players on the floor in our exhibition games and in our opener that had not played a minute for Duke basketball.
We've all heard about Jabari Parker. Can you drill down a little bit more on Hood, because the 3-point shooting from this kid's supposed to be phenomenal, and how that will help the perimeter game?
I've told people over the summer who had never seen him. I saw him practice last year with the team, and I know what he did to make that team better than they would have been. And it was his. He is just a dog on defense, but he can play. I think he can play all 4 positions other than point guard extremely well, and if he wants to play point guard, he can.
What would you say, Bob, is a strength that Bill Self is particularly pleased with, and an area of concern this early in the season?
Well, the area of concern obviously is the youth, but I think the strength is the athleticism of the team. They are really athletic, but this is an interesting year. Last year they had 4 senior starters and 1 guy that went to the NBA
and
early.
This year, not
so
so
all
much.
5 starters are gone. And think of 4 senior starters. That doesn't happen, and 3 of those were 5th-year guys. So you go from one of the most experienced teams in school history to one that's about as inexperienced as it could possibly be.
All right, now let's talk about 2 specific freshmen, Jabari Parker versus Andrew Wiggins. Now, I know there's probably a little bit of bias here, but if you can take the blinders off for a second, just in terms of biggest impact right away, what direction would you go in?
Wow, I think both of them can make an immediate impact, and I'm not sure either either one might make a larger impact than the other, because it depends on what their position is with the team. And I think both of them can really be leaders, and they can carry the teams at times.
How could you possibly have 2 freshmen who have already been on the cover of Sports Illustrated? I don't know where they go from here, but they're obviously great talents. Everybody knew about them for the last year, but it's a team game, and they've got to fit into the team concept, buy into that, and oh, by the way, guard somebody at the other end of the court. So there are some things to work out, but obviously they're great talents. You
know, Mike had told the same thing to the Duke team the other day in practice. He said, you have to make Jabari better.
Right.
Jabari, you have to make them better. And that's the whole, he would do that with every player, and I think that's the philosophy they've got to have.
Every coach will start the season with the goal of getting to the Final Four. There is even more pressure now because you have so many one-and-doners. How realistic do you think a Final Four is for each one of these teams?
I think this field of 4 could easily be in the Final Four in April.
We could just cut the season off now.
Exactly.
We'll watch the Champions Classic, and we will crown a champion from here.
Yeah.
Well, I would take that. You remember, Bob, we were in New York in 1985 in November for the preseason NIT. 3 of those teams, Kansas, Duke, and Louisville, all advanced to the Final Four in Dallas. St. John's was the other team in New York, and LSU
they
made
would
it.
Be there.
And gosh, I had that same feeling, although there are 12, 15 teams right now. I'm from the state of Kansas. Who thought Wichita State would be in the Final Four going into last season, and they earned it. So that's the nature of college basketball right now.
Okay, so let's make a pact. If it is in fact the Final Four teams, let's do this again come April in Dallas.
Absolutely.
I vote for that.
Deal. Bob and Bob, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.